Hey, Pumpkin, you're not still mad at me, right? Huh? Of course I'm so mad! What were you thinking? Welcome back to The Kid at the Back, where nothing bad could happen to our friends. Today we're going down Soul's route in the rewrite, and my god, they just made him so much cuter and creepier, but we don't need to think about that. Anyway, here are your disclaimers, and please pay attention to them. Okay, now enjoy yourselves. Hey, it's me.
The devil!
I swear, I'll do better this time. I'll try to keep Crow alive and probably get more scenes with Saul. So we gotta go to the library for that, yeah. I'll head to the library today. With a hand on her hip, Brittany stares at you, as if waiting for you to change your mind. Seeing that your decision is set, she loosens a sigh. Brittany wordlessly turns on her heel and walks out the classroom, the rest of her friends following behind her. Crow, however, stayed in his exact same spot right next to you. Noticing this, Gio, the one in the hoodie, stops. Crow? Huh? Oh, be right there. Crow paused shortly to sneak a look at you before walking towards Gio, his movement slow and hesitant to leave your side. Although Crow did not give you a farewell glance before reaching his friend, it was Gio who glared at you over his shoulder. His gaze was intimidating and intense. It reminded you of the way predators look at their prey. You felt your heart stop beating for a moment. Please don't tell me this is one of those visual novels where I have to be careful of everyone around me. Like, what's his deal? Confused by his apparent stillness, Crow was about to question his blue-haired companion, but Gio waved his hand dismissively. Before Crow could notice anything, Gio breaks his gaze away from yours and ushers his friend out of the classroom. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. What was that about? He gave me nothing but short glances and glares since I've met him. Maybe I'm not suited to be part of their group. You shake away the negative thoughts, attempting to plague your mind. Returning to your original plan, you packed up your things and proceeded to head out. Next up, the library. The rowdy hallway buzzed with noise as sweaty and tired students made their way to their respective classes, some presumably headed to the cafeteria for a break. Several were headed to the same direction as you were walking. With the library door within your reach, a smile etched on your face. You opened the doors, immediately greeted by the familiar scent of coffee and library books. You've always been awed by your university's fancy facilities. In fact, the library it surprisingly operates as a small cafe, serving coffee to the students who need it early in the morning until the afternoon. It is a huge hit amongst everyone, and you understand why. Caffeine is the fuel to a college student's weary soul. The aroma of coffee somehow lightened your mood. Anticipating a short moment of peace within the library, you made your way towards your usual seat by the large window near the cafe section. Your mood dropped when you spotted an unfamiliar face occupying the chair you've come to favor. You groaned. Just great. What should I do about this? Find somewhere else to sit, ask them to move away from your seat, take a seat beside him. I know that this middle one is going to lead me to a fun interaction, so I'm gonna ask him to move away. Nah, you refuse to accept this. That is your seat. Heck, you even made sure that people know it's yours by scribbling your name on the wooden chair. Okay, that last part is a lie. You'll probably get in trouble if you ever vandalize school property. But you've been in the library more than you could count, that you're pretty sure even the regular students who come here now know that it's your spot. Swallowing your pride, you slowly approach the seated guy. Hey, handsome. Once you made it to his side, however, he didn't bother to acknowledge your presence, seemingly more focused on the book he's reading. You faked a cough. That seemed to catch his attention, for he gives you a small glance right after, his nose still buried in his book. This seems to catch his attention. You're in my seat. Can I have it back? He stares at you for a moment, then closes his book, swerving his body to face you while placing an elbow on the mahogany table. His reddish orbs stare right back into your own. The confidence you had 5 minutes ago vanishes in thin air as his gaze sends shivers down your spine. The dark circles under his eyes adds to his intimidating look. He raised a brow before turning around, under the seat, on the seat, and even under his book before turning back to you. I don't see your name anywhere. You feel the veins on your forehead pop out. Oh, so he wants to be a smartass, huh? Should've put my name like a plan for jerks like him. You crossed your arms, not hiding your visible irritation, earning a low chuckle from the male who is seemingly amused at your frustration. So cute. Say, if you really want your seat back, you need to convince me to move first. Tell you what, how about a cup of coffee? If you give me a cup, maybe I'll consider moving. You bit your inner cheek. Now he wants you to be his little servant? Who does this guy think he is? Turning your head to the nearby coffee stand, right next to the exit, you observe some students enjoying their own coffee while reading or studying. Maybe you can grab his coffee and get this over with. Or why, hey. I know I could get coffee, but I want to sit on him. I want to sit on him. Will this lead me to sitting on him? Let me sit on him. Force him to give him his seat. Do I look like your little mate? Just move and give me back my seat. You angrily voiced out, growing more and more impatient with the male before you. However, he seems unbothered by a threat, his eyes half-lidded in boredom before going back to reading his novel. Okay, this guy is getting on my nerves. Also, I am so sorry for not pointing this out before, but apparently there's an affection meter in the right corner, and I still haven't gotten any affection points with anyone. This guy's getting on my nerves. If he doesn't want to leave, then I'm not letting him then. You huffed in annoyance and moved around behind him. He did not utter a single word and kept his nose in his light novel, so he couldn't deny the fact that he is a bit curious about what you are planning. What shocked him next was you pulling on the chair, causing him to gasp as he wobbled on his seat. Steadying himself, he was prepared to reprimand you for your actions, but you cut him off once more. What are you? By settling yourself on top of his lap! Yeah! He swore to whatever god looking down on him right now to take him. The book in his hand is threatening to slip off. All of his senses shut down, save for his eyes that remained focused on your back. His heartbeat quickens, cursing under his breath, while you continue on with your work as if he isn't there, and you, oh sweet little you, slightly turned your head, giving a quick glance, your lips turned upwards as if mocking him, teasing him. It's driving him insane. You, however, went along with your task, ignoring him as if he wasn't there, save for your ass literally on top of his lap. He looks around him, noticing a few glances from passing students, some rolling their eyes and some moving away, finding a different seat. The guy's face went red. The surrounding students were definitely interpreting this the wrong way. He returns his gaze back to you, who remains unbothered, sitting on his lap, and seemingly not noticing the weird glances. He eventually relaxes, though still a bit hesitant on placing his arm next to yours. With a free hand, he picks up the book he had and reads through its contents once more. A minute or two passes and you felt him sigh before closing his book. Did he finish? Did he? But, hey, Saul, not in the middle of the library. He seems to be having a hard time concentrating on this novel. Not your problem, though. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce. He reads out, make you arch an eyebrow, whilst trying to ignore him still as you remain focused on your papers. Have an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once. You see, reading through your papers, more specifically on the poem you chose, as easily as through a Naples bonnet. An Enigma by Edgar Allan Poe, huh? Not a bad choice. Now this got your attention. In all honesty, you just grabbed whatever book that your hand thought felt heavy and went along with it. You were lucky enough that it was a singular book filled with stories and poems about this author named Edgar Allan Poe. You went through the book's table of contents, and the title caught your attention. Maybe it will have the same effect on your ignorance of a teacher as it did to you. But it seems like this talking chair of yours is taking interest in it first. Not bearing to ignore him any longer, you speak up. It's the first thing I could find that looks interesting. Nothing much, as long as I got something to write for my report. That's fair, but did you know this poem is also a puzzle? This piqued your curiosity. A puzzle? He nods. Then, with a finger, he points at the first line of the poem, then on the second. Yeah, a puzzle. This is one of the few of his works that I find quite charming. Look at where his finger is pointing. You tried to look for the puzzle he is speaking of, but despite reading through the sonnet carefully, you couldn't seem to find the puzzle he was talking about. He must be screwing with you. Trying one last time, you scanned the words. The hell? How am I supposed to know? Okay, so apparently if you read Enigma by Edgar Allan Poe, apparently the name Sarah Anna Lewis is actually, hidden in the poem itself. So, yeah, that should be the answer. You feel a pat on your head, make you tilt your neck to his direction as you try to face him. There on his face is a calm smile directed at you, as if saying, good job. You're a smart cookie. A smug smile made its way to your face, chin up and eyes closed. But of course! I give up. So what's the... Wait, what? I gave him the answer! What the hell? It's Sarah Anna Lou... I gave you the answer! Apparently that's a bug in the game. Yeah, developer, if you're watching this, you forgot to actually add a jump tag, on this particular line in the script. So, yeah. It's a name? Yep. Someone that the author had close relations to. I see. Well, you tried. That's what matters. You look back on your paper, on the poem specifically, a newfound sense of respect for the sonnet after knowing its hidden meaning. This just adds to more content in your paper, and maybe it'll help you get an even higher grade for it. Maybe hitting the books isn't so bad. You lean back on the chair, nearly forgetting you're literally on someone's lap, causing you to accidentally press your back into his chest, make him jerk on the seat. This surprised you. You yelped and quickly stood up from the chair, turning to apologize to him. His previous relaxed posture is now back to being stiff as a board. His face was bright red, resembling a tomato. Leaning forward on his seat, his chin rests on top of the table with a flustered expression on his face. I'm sorry, I forgot I was sitting on you. Oh my god, I was sitting on him! The sudden realization hits you, and you quickly want to bury yourself into the ground. The student before you remains silent, his face still burning red and his eyes wide as plates. He shakily grabs his book and quickly stands up from the seat. Without sparing you any time nor breath, he walks out towards the exit with a bit of a limp on his steps. You feel like ripping your hair out. You did all that embarrassing shit for a guy who refuses to give you your seat in the library. Could have gone to a different spot without having to do all that. Well, there's no point in dwelling on it any more than necessary. Returning to your papers, you stack them up along with the books you borrowed. Glancing at the poem one last time, you couldn't help the smile that made its way to your lips. At least he gave you some useful insight on my paper. I should thank him once I see him. And I never got to know his name. You are so bad at interacting with people. Once you reached the hallway, the stranger from the library was already gone, but what surprised you was Crow's presence, followed by the same group of friends you saw this morning. Only that Brittany's uniform is covered with what seems to be a mix of ketchup, mustard, and a variety of oils, while Jess tries her best to wipe them off of her. What the hell happened in the cafeteria? Lion, I was just about to check on you. How are you feeling? I'm doing fine, although, You turn your gaze to the blonde behind him. Crow follows your line aside and scratches his cheek. A drop of sweat rolls down his neck. Sensing your curiosity, he turns to Brittany. The blonde woman just waves him off, refusing to meet his eyes. Taking that as a sign to proceed, Crow explains. Things went a bit hectic at the cafeteria. A food fight broke out. And it was the best food fight ever! You should have seen the face of that red-headed bitch when you slammed ketchup on her uniform. Daryl jumped in on the conversation, startling you and Crow at his sudden appearance. An annoyed expression made its way onto Crow's face. You nearly got all of us in trouble, Daryl. I'm just glad we got ourselves out of there before things got worse. Yeah, our knight in shining armor, Mr. Ichabod, always to the rescue. Really making use of your title as school rep, huh? Daryl gave Crow a little nudge. The said man just rolls his eyes. But you gotta admit, the look on Pinkie Pie was freaking hilarious, right, Britt? You and Daryl turned to Brittany, some of the sauces on her uniform gone, leaving nothing but a stain on it. A small smirk formed on her lips as she recalled the earlier events. Well, can't deny that it felt good having to fight back. Daryl gave a toothy smile at the blonde woman, which she returns with her own snarky smile. Crow only rolled his eyes, shaking his head at the two troublemakers. Contrary to his visible disagreement, you couldn't help but notice the small smile on his face, as if he's proud of them despite the trouble they caused. As you observe them, you notice something amiss. Or rather, someone amiss. Jess seemed to catch on to your confusion at their lack of numbers and stepped up to explain. If you're looking for Gio, he said he was going somewhere else. I'm not quite sure where, though. I see. Not that I was actively trying to look for the guy. He actually scares me. You recall the look he gave you right before you left for the library. Just remembering it sends a shiver down your spine. You considered tugging on Crow's sleeve, wanting to seek for answers about his other friend, but seeing how he is going along with the group with a genuine smile on his face, you bit your lower lip. You couldn't bear to ruin the mood. I should head to my next class. Not sparing them any more of your time, you swiftly turned on your heel and rushed out of the scene. They're quite a runner, aren't they? Daryl perks up beside Crow's solemn face while the two stare at your departing form. Crow sighs and looks down on the floor. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The taller jock says nothing, but gives his friend a look of pity, rubbing Crow's back as he tries to think of something, anything to reassure the man next to him. Daryl's eyes suddenly lit up, a smile appearing on his lips. Taking advantage of Crow's vulnerability, he swiftly snatched his friend's phone from his pockets, so the latter not even batting an eye at his phone that was taken. Instead, he questions him. The jock simply messes with his phone, his tongue sticking out from the corner of his lips. What are you doing? Trying to fix your love life. You're welcome, by the way. What are you even talking about? Crow's eyes grow wide at the block of text Daryl showed him. Get that back! Daryl simply laughs at Crow's failed attempts in getting his phone back. Daryl waves Crow's blue mobile phone in the air. You got no choice, Crow. Already sent the message. Daryl, you sneaky bastard! You'll call me a favorite wingman after this. The jock winks. A few feet away from the men, Brittany and Jess simply observed the two males. They turned to each other and shrugged, wondering what Daryl could have done to get Crow flustered like that. Barely making it to your next class, you slit the classroom door open, earning you a few looks from the students inside the room. Turning to the podium, you exhaled a breath you didn't realize you were holding when you realized that your teacher was still absent. Fixing your composure, you scanned the room. A few easels and shelves filled with brushes and bottles, stained with acrylic paint, guaranteed that you made it to the right class. Let's see if we can skip. I can't skip! However, you noticed something, or rather, someone familiar. The very same tuft of black hair with green highlights sat at the back, and instead of his red novel that you've come to associate him with, he is now scribbling with a sketch pad. He didn't seem to notice your arrival. How come you never seen him in class before? Is it because he's seated all the way at the back of the classroom? If that's the case, then he must have been really quiet, and you probably never got the time to notice him come and go. How odd, you thought. You make your way to your seat, now breaking your gaze at the tall, dark male. Once you reach your seat, you couldn't help your growing curiosity at whatever he's doing with his sketchpad. Coincidentally, the desk right in front of him was unoccupied. Maybe you could sit there instead. Settling with that idea, you moved to the desk in front of him and placed your things down. He remains unaware of your presence. You sit on the chair facing the opposite direction as you casually placed your arms on the backrest. Oh my god, he's cute! You observe the way he draws with his pencil. Each stroke he creates moves with so much elegance that you thought he was dancing with it. The face of a person dressed in peasant clothes. They seemed to be dancing, while a being larger in size was right next to them. You lean in closer, attempting to see what he's trying to draw. But was left startled when the book suddenly slammed closed, causing you to jerk back. You tilt your head up and you meet your eyes with the very same wide, reddish eyes of the boy back in the library. You give him an awkward smile and a peace sign. He kept staring at you. Hey there. Sorry for what happened back at the library. You're my classmate. That's a surprise. Hope we'll get along. Okay. Being caught in the act wasn't part of your plan. Quickly swerving around, you are now properly facing forward, ignoring the burning stare of the male behind your head. You make your way to your seat. Once settled down, you groan, placing your elbows on the desk and resting your chin on top of your hands, waiting patiently for your professor's arrival. Hearing the classroom door open, your art professor makes his way inside, his large round belly standing out, round spectacles sitting on top of his nose, and a stereotypical brown beret on his head. He greets the class before starting his lecture. Alright. Art exhibit project featuring various areas of art. Got it, we're skipping along. Soul means sun or brightness, right? And he nods. Okay, skipping along. I am still not that good at art. Also, this actually does lead to different CGs, so I'm gonna be kind of safe here. I'm not that good at art. Everyone starts somewhere. Got it. Oh, I can't skip. Would you like me to draw you first, then? If it's not too much of a trouble. Just great line. First time partnering up with this new guy, and you've already let him do all the work. I'm no better than those past classmates of mine who push their workload on someone else. Not at all. Well, let it slide this one time. With that, Soul takes out his own sketchbook and pencil, sitting upright and facing you. You straighten up your back, sitting properly as if you're about to take an ID picture. Is this okay? Relax your shoulders. Feel at home. Expressionism is about expressing yourself. Just pose whatever you'd like. Got it. I'm a JoJo pose then. Is this good for you, Soul? Is this good for you, Soul? Is this good for you, Soul? Okay. Oh, now he's JoJo posing. Your breathing stopped. You can feel Soul's hand brush along your forehead to your ear, tucking away a stray hair that was covering your face. You could almost smell his mint in his breath. You were sure you were bright as cherry by now. Soul leaned back, and he didn't say anything as he began sketching, his eyes hopping from the paper to your face, and you swear, every time you meet his gaze, your heartbeat quickens. You averted your gaze, distracting yourself from his focus as you tried to calm your beating heart. The class eventually came to an end, as your professor was giving one last reminder to your class before dismissing everyone. One by one, everyone packed their things and left the classroom, while some stayed and discussed more about the exhibit. Sadly, Soul isn't done with your portrait, which you were dying to see, but he said he's going to keep it a secret until he finishes it. You better not make me look funny. What makes you think that? It's not like I gave you a mustache or anything. What? Let me see. I'm kidding. He didn't know what came to him when he raised his hand to try and cup your cheek. He stopped midway, however, and tucked it in his pocket. You're so pretty. Did you say something, Soul? Nothing. Do you have a phone? We should exchange numbers and update each other so we can do the next 2 tasks. Soul then takes out his own phone and asks for your number. Can we skip this? Oh, we can. Your stare lingers on Soul's face. A smile is embedded on his handsome features, while he looks at the block of text on his phone. Meeting Soul. Back then, you struggled to form friends throughout college. That you were convinced that you would be graduating without making a single connection, which would undoubtedly disappoint your father, and you were ready for it. You thought to yourself, these are odd people. Eccentrics at most. All misunderstood people. All human. All the same. A sudden wave of determination washed over you. With a hand on your chest, you stare into Soul's orbs, making him tilt his head slightly. Soul, I want to be friends with you. I can sense that people tend to misunderstand you when your overall personality. Soul is quiet, but his gaze remains on you with a lingering curiosity. But let me be different. I want to know you. I want to understand you, Soul. If you let me. He blinked once, then twice, then a chuckle. He puts a large hand on top of your head, then ruffles your hair. All right then. Let's mark today as the start of our wonderful friendship, Lion. You playfully pushed his hand off of your head and nudged him on the shoulder. He lets out a small laugh at your poor attempt. Yes, to you too, Sullivan Brook Monsieur. Just Soul is fine, Lion. Well, I need to get going. See you tomorrow? Huh? Of course. See you tomorrow, Lion. Giving Soul a wave of goodbye, you make your way towards the school's exit. My darling. My sweet darling. See you later, Pumpkin. Right, I know. That's all Hollow's ball, and I will take his arm, because I don't want to get that close to him. I only have 2 points with Soul. Only 2 points. I'm going to take his arm. I don't want to be that close with him. You didn't take his outstretched hand, but rather boldly wrapped your arm around his, earning a look of surprise from his azure eyes. He did not question you on the matter, but a wide smile made its way to his features, while a slight blush dusted his cheeks. He holds onto your arm tight and leads both of you away from the school grounds. By the time you and Crow made it to the park, it was already sundown and stars slowly started painting the sky. Is this the place you were trying to lead me to, Crow? Got it. I know, you're telling me all about the stars, and what if I don't believe in a god, huh? What if I don't believe? You don't? No, I don't. I believe in one's hard work. Does that count? Crow merely chuckles at your statement. With a hand resting on his chest, he shakes his head slightly as if he couldn't believe he just heard you say that. I don't mind the people who believe in them. I just don't like the way some of them worship the very ground these so-called gods walked on. You scoffed. I believe that everything is made possible through everyone's efforts, be it as a team or as an individual. Their believers only give credit to those deities for everything, and it's an insult to the forgotten people who sacrifice themselves to make things happen. You recalled the townsfolk who endlessly praised and worshipped your patron deity for the bountiful harvest you and your family broke sweat and tears for. You watch as the efforts of your labor were all thrown to some invisible being which, as far as you knew, returned nothing but calamities one after the other. 'Twas only a miracle that you, your father, and your damn farmland are still standing, and your crops still thriving even after so much damage. Crow notices the way your brows furrow. He says nothing, but the look in his eyes tell you that he shares your sentiments wholeheartedly. This is why we're two peas in the same pod. How about you? Do you believe in gods? You turn to Crow, repeating the same question he asked you earlier. He scans your face, your eyes, your nose, then your lips. Again, these lips will not lead you to divine wisdom. Please look away. His lingering gaze made you shrink back, your heart fluttering slightly. Crow seems to realize something to himself as he returns his attention to the stars above, sighing. I don't. This surprises you, and Crow laughs at your visible shock and confusion. Got it. Okay, we're moving on. I don't want to get you killed! Not again! No, I'm hugging you! I hug. You didn't feel as bad as before, but your vessel is not completely empty yet. Somehow, just looking at Crow, and the comfort he brought you, made you want to bask in it longer, until you were sure there were no tears left to shed. Leaning down once more, you bury your face in the crook of his neck, and his arms instinctively wrap around you, his hug warm and soothing, as he waits for you to gather your thoughts. Crow rubs circles on your back, a silent way of telling you that he was there, you were not alone, and that he'd be there whenever you needed him. He didn't say a word, understanding that you need silence more than anything right now. You couldn't thank him enough for always knowing what you needed. You have no idea how long you remained in that embrace, while lying down on the grass, but you feel a lot better that you are ready to get back up on your feet. You pull away, meeting Crow's eyes that seem to ask for your well-being. Fixing his collar, he turns to you. Are you good to go? You could read, just from his gaze. You nod slightly, and it is only then that Crow completely releases you from his embrace, helping you sit up before he dusts off the grass that stuck to his shirt. He gives you a once-over and gently swats away the leaves on your hair and clothes. You blink at him. He only smiles at you. You get up and Crow retrieves his bag, almost forgotten by the tree. He looks back at you and takes your hand silently. It was time to go. It was time to leave this magical place. You look at the stars and how brightly they shone. You gave the sky one last glance before turning away, hand clasped tightly around Crow's as you let him lead you home. Crow walks you to your apartment, noting that he kept you out late at night. Got it, bye, Crow! And here's the whoa. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. The one who loves. I was a child. She was a child. In this kingdom by the sea. Day 2. The Kingdom. The sun setting by the horizon colors the grassy field into a deep golden orange as the wind made some strands of hair brush across your face. Your ever-beloved home, the tall grass, the fresh air, the various farm animals that you and your family raised since you were but a mere child. You can't even imagine what was happening before you right now as a group of people came while they talked with your father. Your only family member left. You see the distress in your father's eyes as he tries his best to negotiate with the people before him. The desperation in his voice, the sweat running down his neck as he moves around his hand, gesturing this and that. Please, give me more time. I promise I can pay up. This is all we have left. I don't know where else to go if we lose this farmland. We've given you enough chance already, Mr. Lion. If you don't pay up your debt, we will take your land. I nearly forgot I gave myself the last name Lion. The loud ringing of the school bell rang across the hallway, make you jerk out of your thoughts. Students came out through their classroom doors. You feel someone shaking you awake. You sat up and met, face to face with Crow. Wait, hang on, I need to know. What are my points with like Crow and Soul right now? 2 and 5? Why do I have so many affection points with Crow? That's not what I wanted! Then again, I was rude to Saul, so oh boy, oh no. Well, good morning, Sleeping Beauty. You let out a yawn. You rubbed your eyes as you looked around. Your fellow classmates are now gone from their seats as it is now lunchtime. What? What did I miss? Nothing important. So if you're having doubts, I can lend you my notes afterwards. Thanks, Crow. You're a lifesaver. Anything for you? You recalled the little dream you had. You quickly shake it off as you let out a stretch, popping a few joints before you got up and went out of your classroom with Crow in tow. You met up with your group of friends, seeing Daryl with Gio and Crow waiting by the lockers, Brittany coming along behind them, and Jess. You waved at them. Good noon to you all. Regards, Daryl. How's your class? Boring. So glad to be out of there. One more useless minor and I'll be out of here. Gio just shrugged, a hand in his hoodie pocket while the other on his phone. We got to at least do something in our major today, though, which I'm glad about. More papers, but it was at least something. Yeah, enough about papers. It's about the Halloween party. Any ideas for a costume yet? As they talk to each other, at the corner of your eyes, you noticed a familiar figure. Hey! It's my boy! And the other boy! I love them both! It was Soul. He came out of a classroom and another person came afterwards behind him, seemingly bored out of his mind. I am, of course, going to join Soul. You turn your head to Crow in a shy manner, almost hesitant to ask. Oh, Crow? Is it okay if I leave? I have somewhere to be at. Is that so? There was a slight disappointment in his voice, but he lets you continue on. Yeah, sorry I couldn't hang out. Nonsense. I'll see you after lunch instead then, Lion. If you're interested, of course. Sure thing! You give Crow one last smile before heading over to where Soul and his companion is. You walk towards the two individuals. They seem to be in deep conversation. However, Soul noticed your presence and stopped talking, his attention now on you. His companion noticed a change in his friend's demeanor and follows his gaze as it lands on you. The shorter male greets you with a smile. Hey there, friends of Sunny. Sunny? Sunny! He pats Soul at the back, causing the taller male to jerk slightly forward. Soul gave him an irritated look, observing the way his face is slowly turning red. You know, 'cause he's such a sunshine. He's Sunny! He let out a small giggle, shifting her eyes towards Soul as he catches your gaze on his. Upon landing eye contact, Soul quickly averts his gaze away from yours, holding up his hand as he tries his hardest to hide his face away. Like a nickname? Yeah, Sunny loves the nickname I gave him, right, Sunny? Soul remained silent, still refusing to meet your gaze. That's adorable! For a moment, the three of you were silent before the shorter male speaks up once more. You sure have taste, Sunny. They're very pretty, like you said. A blush makes its way to your face. Scratching the back of your head, you bit your bottom lip as you let out a small thank you. Anyway, nice to meet you. My name's Hugo. I'm this big old grumpy's best friend. Lion. Pleasure to meet you too. He extends his hand for you to take, in which you merely accept, shaking it and puts it back on his side, a smile on his face as he did so. So, anyway, what are you up to, Lion? Oh, I just saw you both and I wanted to greet you. Anyway, we're planning to go to the rooftop today and eat lunch there. The weather's doing better, unlike yesterday. You want to tag along with us, Lion? You guys aren't a fan of the cafeteria? Upon mentioning the cafeteria, Soul shivered as Hugo only gave a small chuckle. Sunny isn't a huge fan of the noise there. Let's get going, shall we? Sure. Hugo walks to his usual spot and got himself a seat on the bench that you somehow never took notice of before. Soul follows along, and in his hands is a large, wrapped box that caught your interest. Why, I'm of course gonna sit next to Soul. Soul notices you from the corner of his eye, the edges of his lips moving upward. You pointed to the box nestled in Soul's hands. Is that your lunch, Soul? You can say that. As Soul unwraps the cloth, showing you 3 bento boxes. He takes out the first bento box that was settled on top before giving the second one to Hugo. Hugo accepts the box happily, thanking Soul before taking out his chopsticks. Opening the container, Hugo lets out an awe sound, his eyes sparkling, drool slowly seeping out at the corner of his open mouth. You actually listened! And did you cut these tiny sausages into octopuses? Keep your voice down. It's ringing in my ear. Wait, I need to take a picture of it. Placing the box gently on his lap, Hugo rummages through his pockets before taking out his phone. Opening his phone's camera, he flips it horizontally and starts clicking away, taking 1 or 2 photos. Hugo lifts the container back into his hands, but not before turning to you and showing you what he keeps gushing about. Oh my! Oh my god, it's adorable! I know I've seen this before, but it's always so cute. Look at his bento box. Damn. Isn't it adorable, Lion? There, you see, are various ranges of food with rice shaped to match a moth, seaweed to design the face, along with using a cabbage leaf to form its wings. Right below the moth are tiny sausages shaped like octopus. Wonderfully cut carrots were made to look like stars and squeezed beside stuffed shiitake mushrooms. The egg roll sushi and broccoli with melted cheese as a dip looked delicious. I almost feel bad to eat it, especially with how cute this little guy is. Hugo points at the silk moth-shaped rice. I guess he's saying itadakimasu? Without wasting another second, Hugo starts digging in, scruffing down on the rice like a wild, hungry animal. Did you make this yourself, Soul? You can say that. Soul answers, opening his own container. You thought you'd see another form of food art made by Sol himself within the container, but instead was greeted by a simple ham and cheese sandwich. He takes out a slice, but before he could take a bite, he turns to you. Have you eaten, Lion? I'm gonna say no, I haven't, just so I can have him feed me. Sol's eyes went wide, and Hugo gave you a shocked look. Before you knew it, Sol takes out another box and settles it on your lap. You can have this. It's an extra. Why do you have an extra? I didn't like how this looked, but I figured I can let Hugo finish it. It's a waste of ingredients. Aw, but you don't have to, Sol. Really? No, I insist. Oh, for God's sake, just eat the same box. Hugo, who clearly had enough of the back and forth banter, suggests the idea before returning to his own box. Sol hesitates, but he eventually takes out a spoon and a fork, handing them to you. I tease. You decline his offer of the utensils. He raises a brow in confusion. You don't want the fork? Or do you prefer the spoon? I have chopsticks if you want. Nah, nothing of the sort. Then, what is it? I want you to feed me. Sol's breath hitched. His face went bright red at your wild suggestion. Hugo gave you both a side eye. Your proclamation was enough for him to actually stop eating, shooting you both a judgmental look as if saying, "Really? In front of my bento box?" He scoots a bit away from the two of you, not wanting to be a part of your little fiasco as he returns to his meal. Sol, however, was nervous for a bit, his eyes still transfixed on yours. He still couldn't believe what you asked from him. Are you just going to keep staring at them or what? Shut up. I'll feed them. Sol takes the spoon in his hand. Sol takes the spoon a little bit too harshly and scoops out some rice and a piece of the sausage, his whole face turning red to the point it reaches to the tip of his ears. With a shaking hand, he lifts the spoon for you to take. You took a bite and chewed. The mixture of flavors, how the rice remains warm and fluffy and the sausage's savory taste helps balance it out and sends a tingling feeling down your spine from your mouth. It's amazing! Sol, this is really good! Hugo nods along with you with gusto, food stuffed on one cheek like a hamster. I know, right? You can honestly be surprised. Sol, you'd make a great house husband! Sol's eyes widened at your declaration. You really think so? I really do think so. Sol is definitely husband material, Lion. Also, he said, do you want to get married? And I love that. God. He could cook, he could clean, he could do anything. I'd rather not be your own personal butler. That was a compliment. The two banter, but you couldn't help looking at Sol and the way his eyes sparkle. They almost remind you of bright fireworks during the new year. Hugo eventually finishes his own box, tucking it away and wrapping it back up. Standing up from the bench, Hugo stretched out his limbs and paced a few steps forward before turning to look at you and Sol with his hands on his hips. Is this what you guys do every day? Or at least when you both get together? You raised the question. Hugo turns his head to you with a slight tilt. What do you mean? You mean Sol giving me his lunch? He just keeps forgetting to bring his own. Hugo pouts. And you never finish yours, so I do the honors of ever finishing good food. Thank you very much. Those bento box art. What inspired them, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, you didn't know. Shut it, Go-Go. Go-Go? Oh, now we're using the nicknames now, Sonny. How sweet of you. You see here, Lion, my old pal here just makes food art like the typical artist he is. But he never bothers to finish it, much less eat it. And he really loves cute things like, with a finger under his chin, Hugo ponders for a short moment, trying to remember something from the top of his head, but to no avail. He turns to his friend, his arms crossed, seemingly uninterested in answering whatever inquiry Hugo's going to throw at him. What was the name of your plushed horse, Sonny? Like hell I'm answering that. Boo! He owns a plush horse? Soul owns plushies. Soul bites his lips, his face turning red upon the reveal of his little secret. That's so cute! You're just so full of surprises, Soul. He says nothing as he fixes his choker. The red blush tinting his face makes its way to the tip of his ears. But he appreciates your compliment nonetheless. Looks can be deceiving. This makes you wonder. Why do people never bother to notice him? Why don't people want to get to know him? Maybe they just never gave him the chance because of how he looks, not to mention his intimidating height. But he isn't like that at all. In fact, he can be considered as a gentle giant. Time passed for a while, and now Hugo and Soul are both leaning against the railings, observing the view below them. Curious, you make your way to where they were. Hugo and Soul seem to be looking at everything below, their faces solemn and serious. Hugo's face is blank, while Soul's expression is a mixture of irritation and aggravation. You look down, and there, you see a group of well-dressed people. But what makes them stand out is not from the way they dress, but from the way they carry themselves. They're clearly not from here. But the school's logo on their uniform's chest pocket says otherwise. They look so fancy. They look rich, dangerous. You couldn't help but hold your gaze on the tallest one in the group, an adult man. You're guessing that he must be a staff member, maybe a teacher, but what sticks out about him is the eye patch on his face and a large scar behind it. It sends a shiver down your spine. Tch. High-class mugs. Soul exclaims, pure disgust coating his tone, not hiding it a single bit as he pulls away from the railings and returns to the benches where you last were. High class? You don't know about the hierarchy, Lion. No, not that I'm aware of. This is the first time I've ever heard of it. How come I've never heard or seen, any one of them throughout my school years here? Hugo lets out a low chuckle, his attention still on the group below him. Then, his gaze darkened. The usual happy-go-lucky attitude you've come to know disappeared in a flash, as if the person before you is a whole different person. I don't blame you. No one likes to talk about them anyway. Okay, I already know about this, but I guess we'll read them again. He sends a chilling glare down at the group below. The school building isn't actually the real thing. Wait, what? But the school map clearly says that the address is... That's where they actually fool you. You might think you got it right, but we are sort of based on our background. The real school building? Way farther than where we are. The campus is 10 times bigger and better. They get proper classes, have better equipment. Everything is just better. Here, we only get the short end of the stick. The afterthought, if you will. If I have to guess, the well-off are in the main building? That's right. Son of a duke, daughter of a businessman. Heck, as long as you're rich, you're in. Your chances of having better education rest there. If you're part of the high class, then you'll have a better chance of having a successful and stable life. But don't we have students here who are super rich? You recall Crow introducing you to Jess, her being a daughter of a family owning a large company. But how come she's not part of the high class? There are some who ended up shifted down and moved to our building. Either they failed a class or got a violation. They didn't want that type to stain their reputation, so they sent them here. Of course, some didn't appreciate that. They see us as someone lower than them, hence. Hugo glances back at Soul, the said male now busying himself with his sketchpad. A soft look flashed in his eyes, like how a mother would worry over their child. There you understood something. Oh. They have to fight the weak to feel something. Huh. They sound like nothing but bullies. How come someone didn't step up to complain? Hugo laughs at your words, as if you told him the best joke of his life. He shakes his head in disagreement. If only it were that easy. His laughter dies down, his expression back to being solemn, as he scratches the back of his head. Actually, Lion, in this city, no one really gives a shit. Money is the only thing revolving around the city. You got no cash, you're done for. Which is why people like us. He turns to look at you dead in the eyes. are desperate to get into the higher class. If you dare so complain. He pauses, contemplating the next set of words he's going to say, his mouth opening and closing like a guppy out of water. Instead, he gives you a warning look. His sky blue eyes that once reminded you of summer skies are now cold, like sharp icicles about to pierce you. You're better off dead. With one last look below, Hugo lets out a sigh as he turns to look somewhere else, trying to shove away the thoughts clouding his mind. But that's a sad reality there. The attention is good, great even. Your chances to get a stable life and even have a knock to stardom is high once you're part of the high class, much less graduate there. Okay, about a hierarchy. How come I've never heard of hierarchy before? It's like a hidden thing, but that's what we call it. The school. No, this entire city. It's like a fighting pit. Whoever is the most powerful has a better chance at living a good life here. People come to this school to gain a chance in life. But to achieve that, you have to make yourself well known. Make them think you're worth their time. If not, you're on your own. Yeah, I've got nothing else to ask. The city is corrupted. He mutters under his breath. Which makes me question, Lion. How were you able to get into the city? No, the better question is, why did you enroll in the school if you don't mind me asking, that is? You're clearly not from here. Her eyes widen at the words that the well-dressed man said. No! Lion, you are not taking this farm! My home! You cut your father's words off, marching towards a tall man with loud and heavy footsteps. The tall man, however, raised a brow at you, raising his hand to halt his men. His deep magenta eyes then turned to look straight in your eyes. It sent a chill down your spine. Whoa, a bit feisty seeing that this is our first time meeting, right? Let me introduce myself first. My name is... How do you pronounce that, sir? But you may call me Mr. Z. And as for our little agenda, how about this, little lamb? If you manage to pay off your debt for the next 5 years, I'll let you off the hook and let you keep your land. 5 years? You can handle that. Maybe working 3 jobs will do it for you. He tuts, waving a finger in front of your face. He looks down at you, reminding you of your place, a mischievous smile appearing on his handsome features. But I have some conditions you have to meet. He went silent. Your heart starts pounding in your chest as you kept eye contact with his sharp magenta orbs. I want you to stay in the city. The city? But we can't even afford to take them to college. What more moving in the city? Your father interrupts the man mid-sentence. The man merely gives your father a side glance, making the old man freeze on his feet before returning his gaze back to you. No need to worry. They'll be under my jurisdiction, of course. I'll provide for their education and accommodation. Suddenly, he burst out in laughter, throwing his head back a bit as if he just heard a very funny joke. See? I'm not that cruel. Wouldn't you agree, Lion? But just like I said before, I want you to pay off your debt. Land doesn't come in cheap, darling. And I've been very patient with how long this land's payment has been postponed. A sudden jerk on your collar made your heart jump, his face now mere inches away from yours, his brows furrowed in anger and filled with spite. Lion! Not one step, old man! He screams at your father, not sparing him a glance as he kept his hold on your collar. You tried to claw his hands away, but to no avail, seeing that you are losing more air the more you struggle. Listen here, punk. I don't care what methods you're going to do in order to make money. A dark smile appeared on his face. It sends a shiver down your spine. Being a good citizen and get a part-time job like the rest, or haul yourself out in strip clubs, legal or illegal, I don't care. As long as you reach the amount. If not, well, you can say goodbye to your little farmland. Okay, fair enough, okay? He says that, but there was a gleam in his eye that is telling you that that's not all. What do you mean that's not all? Letting go of your collar, he steps back as you greedily take in the air that you lost. Tears make its way towards your eyes, threatening to drop. So, little fawn, what's it going to be? You bit the bottom of your lip. You turn to look at your father. His eyes were clearly telling you to decline. You didn't want to comply to this man's words, much less take on his offer. You think he might just throw you another form of debt for letting him fund you to go to the city. There was something about the man that screams dangerous. But you were too desperate to not lose your home. Your only home. Tick-tock, sweet thing. I haven't got all day. The tall man's gaze still fixed on you, waiting for your answer. Do you accept? You recall the dream you had this morning. It felt as if it happened yesterday. Despite the events that happened nearly 4 years ago, you're still being haunted by the deal the tall man offered to you. Hugo observes the way your face hardened, the way your eyebrows arched, and a drop of sweat dropping amidst the cool autumn wind. There, he understood. Let me guess. Something you can't avoid. I honestly don't know. My father never really disclosed as to why we were in debt. But I was so desperate to not lose my only home. I need to make it up to the higher class, no matter what. 3 jobs isn't cutting off the way I want it to be. I'm running out of time. This is my last year in this cursed university, and I'm barely making any progress. Hugo's gaze remains on your figure. You realize you haven't answered his question yet. My family owns a farm in the south. You finally speak, making Hugo perk up his eyebrows in curiosity. What sort of farm does your family have? Well, we have some wheat fields, and we tend to animals such as cows and horses. Horses! Bet Sol's going to love that place. Sounds nice. I'd love to be out in the city once in a while. You give him a small smile. Yeah, some might say it's boring, but it's not. You get to pet horses and cows. Well, you should really invite me or even Sol over then if you ever. Having you give us a tour there will be a great change of scenery. But that means you're a long way from home. Don't you miss it? A little bit. That's alright. It's normal to feel a little homesick. I heard great things about the city, about the school. Hugo remained quiet, listening to you as you went on. If I can manage to come out on top and maybe part of the higher class, like you said, then maybe I can save my family's farm. Crossing his arms, he says nothing as he looks at you one last time before letting out an endearing chuckle. You remind me of them. Like, them? I'm rambling. Don't mind me. Having caught red-handed, he waves his hands around in slight panic. His face now red as a cherry. You tilt your head in confusion. Just then, you felt a presence behind you. Turning around, you're met with Sol. His glare is stingy and directed at Hugo. The shorter male, however, didn't mind it. Probably used to it. It's almost time. We should head back. Alright. With nothing else to do, the 3 of you left the rooftop. You take one step down, looking up and ready to converse with Sol and Hugo, when you suddenly lose your footing. Lion! Whoa! You're right there, Lion. Yeah. Thank you, Sol. Eyes wide in shock, you hold onto Sol's arm tight, his other arm wrapped around your waist as he pulls you close to his chest. You can feel both of your heartbeats run. Pulling away, you steady your footing, observing the stairs, cursing at how weirdly formed it is. Be careful next time. Sheesh, the school and its bad architecture. Also one of the few flaws here, the stairs are all wonky. It's also why it's forbidden to go up here. We're troublemakers, though. Hugo lets out a cocky grin, then goes down the stairs with much ease as if it's nothing to him. What a freaking menace! Turning to Sol, you grab a hold of his shoulder. He did not mind as you use him as a guide in descending down the stairs. The school bell rang throughout the hallway, signaling the start of next classes. Hugo lets out a groan. I don't want to go to class. I hate my history teacher as much as my coach in archery. Why don't you skip then? Hugo's eyes popped open. It became bright like a light bulb, appearing out of his head and lighting up. Soul knows exactly what that look means. Don't tell me. I'm going to skip class! How about it? Screw the school! If they're going to treat us badly, then let's be the bad guys. A mischievous look makes its way to Hugo's face. Soul already knew what that look means, sighing as he did so. He turns to you, awaiting for your response to Hugo's offer. The thought of skipping is quite a gamble. Your next class is with Crow in art history. But then again, your teacher will probably only do some boring-ass introduction. Missing one wouldn't hurt, would it? Screw it! We ball! Hugo lets out a small cheer and gives you a thumbs up. Soul gives you a cheeky smile of his own. But how do we do that, though? Obviously, we can't go through the entrance since it's closed and guarded. I know a way. Without wasting any more time, Soul leads the way, going through the back side of the school near the gardens. Huh. The edges, of course, were barricaded by a tall iron fence. Soul finds a bush and pushes it aside, revealing a gaping hole. Well, that's quite convenient. Did you make this hole, Soul? He did. I did! Hugo went ahead first, through the hole. Soul waits for you first, before following right after. The three of you went past a few bushes and shrubs, the leaves falling as you pass by them, the red and orange leaves scattering around, and some making its way onto your uniform before you all eventually made it out and met with pavement. So, where do we go? Hugo thought for a moment, looking around before pulling out his phone. Suddenly, he lets out a gasp, scrolling through his phone faster before gripping on Soul's shoulder, earning him a hiss from the taller male. Sherlock Holmes is out? My ears! Oh yeah, it's that detective movie I keep seeing on the television. I thought they won't come out till next week. Did I set the dates wrong? With that, Hugo starts sprinting, leaving you and Soul behind. For the love of... Soul placed his hands on his hips before walking to where Hugo ran off to as he followed. Hugo kept tapping away on his phone. His shoulders went slump. Guess he did get the date wrong. Shoving his phone back in his pocket, he turned to you and Soul. He clasped his hands together and pulled the biggest puppy eyes you've ever seen. We have got to watch it! Can we, Lion? Can we, Sonny? Hugo begged. You can go ahead and watch the movie. I'm going to roam the arcade while you're at it. Hugo pouted. His eyes went half-lidded, and the sparkle in his eyes were gone. It's more fun if you're around. I know you like those crime videos you watch from time to time, so please... Soul, however, basing off of his expression, isn't in the mood. Hugo gives up and turns to you. How about you, Lion? Would you like to watch the movie with me? The ticket and food's on me, of course. I'm going with Soul. Hugo shrugs. Alright, go on your little impromptu date then. Besides, I don't want a third wheel either way. Duh. You're the one who decided we should skip class and do whatever we want. Yeah, and I want to watch a movie. Well, don't let me stop you two. Hugo stuck his tongue out at Soul. The said male only rolled his eyes. I'll be heading in now. I'll just give you guys a call on where to meet. Sure. You and Hugo parted ways. He gave you both away before heading in a different direction. Soul turns to you. Should we get going? Of course. The flashing neon lights of the arcade's exterior lights your way, the sound of each arcade machine reaching your ears. I've never been here before. Is this place new? Not really. It's just hidden within the city. I see. Do you get out a lot, Soul? You seem to know places. I know places because I get my ass dragged by Hugo. Is that so? You laughed. Soul just shrugged as he shook his head. He takes out a few coins from his pocket before handing it to you. They were tokens. So, which one are you going for first? Whoa, you came prepared. As always. Soul holds out his hands as you accepted it. He held it tight with a light squeeze as you and him roam around the arcade. You and Soul went and played multiple arcade games. Some you win, some he does. But you often get the feeling he lets you win for the sake of you winning. Oh, come on, Soul. This is the 5th time I won. Ain't no way you're this bad. Maybe you're just that good, Lion. You flatter me. Just as when you're about to insert another coin, however, you realize you ran out of tokens. Soul takes notice of this, of course, and gave out some of his to you. I'll go to the counter and grab a few more tokens. You don't mind staying here for a bit, right? How much should I pay you for the tokens? It's on me, so don't worry about it. Wait here. Giving you one last look, he hurriedly went to the counter. He looked around the area. The dinging sounds from various machines filled the arcade. From the corner of your eye, you spot a claw machine. Maybe playing a few games wouldn't hurt. Going to the claw machine, you check the contents inside. A cat plushie, a Shiba Inu plushie, and a horse plushie. They all look so cute. Which one should I try to win? Let me think. Horse! You remember how Soul likes horses. Maybe you can try and win one for him. These are his tokens after all. You took out some of the tokens Soul gave you and inserted one in the coin slot. The machine whirs to life as you take the joystick on your left hand while hovering the red button on your right. You were focused, eyeing the claw in its position, trying to align it with the horse plush. The claw takes hold of the plush. Your eyes widen as you cross your fingers, hoping it catches it. But you were interrupted with a sudden smack to your ass. You jerked and turned around. What the hell? Well. What do we have here? You turn around and are met with a tall figure, a cocky smirk on his face. He looks well off, like those typical spoilt rich kids you see in movies. His hair a bit tousled, with two men you assumed are his bodyguards beside him. He reeks of tobacco, making you gag. You said nothing but tried to move away from his side, but you were stopped by another tall figure. You were guessing he's with this asshole. Now where do you think you're going, sweetheart? You alone? Yes, and I would much prefer to be alone. The man, however, did not listen. Why don't you come with me and I'll show you how these games are played? He raised his hand to reach your shoulders. Before he could touch you, however, you kicked him between his legs. He doubled over and clenched his lower region. A groan escapes his lips. His goons were taken aback and rushed to help him. Now's my chance! Don't let them get away! Multiple heavy footsteps were coming after you as you ran. You turned every corner you can, trying to make them lose you. But 3 against 1 is not a good matchup. Anyone, please, help me! You pleaded, but the multiple sound effects and music from each machine within the arcade drowned your pleas. You cursed under your breath as you focused on running. All you can think about at the moment is to get out. You managed to get out of the arcade, but you can still clearly hear the man and his goons on your trail. You looked around and you found a few toilet stalls. You rushed towards it and got in a stall, hurriedly opening and locking it as soon as you got in. The place stinks, but you didn't give it another thought as the beating of your heart rings through your ears, tears filling up the corners of your eyes. You hear footsteps. Find them! The man's voice echoed. You try to think of something, and you thought of calling Soul. You quickly took out your phone. No signal. Are you for real right now? You could hear how aggressive they tore open each stall. They creep closer and closer to where you are. Anyone? Please! Here you are. No, please! You've been a very bad kid. Don't worry. You can make it up to me by doing me a favor. Screw you and your goddamn favors! Yeah, I've been kind to you, but seems you want to do it the hard way. His forcefully grabbed the edge of your uniform. Your eyes went wide as your fingers went cold. You quickly grab a hold of his wrist and you try to push him away. He's too strong! He forcefully lifts up your uniform, revealing your stomach to him. You're gonna give me a good time, little darling. Boys! Hold him down! No! Screw off! Let me go! The tears that were hanging by finally fell down your cheeks as you tried to stop him from going any further. The 2 large men with him held you down as you try and struggle, but to no avail. Your vision is slowly being blinded by the hot tears that were filling up. It's no use. His grip is too strong, and there's no one near to hear me. You closed your eyes shut. Please, just end this quickly. What? Hey! Judging from the impact, the man's body was jerked off of you as he was thrown to the side. You hear flesh hitting flesh. And another one. Oh! Oh, crunchy! That's enough, Saul. Not yet. No! That's enough! You broke his nose already! No. Saul! That's enough! Lion needs your help! At the mention of your name, the familiar reddish-orange eyes went wide open before turning to you. Saul quickly went to your side, his eyes wide with shock before crouching down and giving you a hug, his shoulders shaking as he embraces you. You said nothing, however, too stunned to speak to what transpired before you. The man now lay still on the ground, a pool of blood seeping out of him, the rest of his goons passed out on a random corner. You looked up and met with the all-too-familiar eyes of Hugo. But they weren't the kind ones you usually see on his face. Hugo's eyes twitched as he sighed, trying to hide his visible irritation but failing. He looks around at the mess Saul made before turning to check up on you. He said nothing, hands in his pockets while he looks down at you in Saul's embrace. It's getting quite late. We should head home. Hugo tapped Saul's shoulder, making the tall male bury his face further in between your neck before eventually letting go. His eyes were bloodshot, his face red from either anger or worry. You weren't sure, but one thing's for sure, is that this man before you cried. He cried for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have left you. Saul. Thanks for saving me. You reached out to cup his cheek. He flinches at the touch. Tears that he was trying to hold back is now flowing freely down his cheeks. He eventually relaxed as he closed his eyes and leans onto your hand as he held it. I don't know what I'll do with. It's okay. It's alright. Here. Beside you, Hugo extended his hand for you to take. You notice on his other hand is the same horse plush you tried to win back in the crane game. You took Hugo's hand as he helped you get up. Saul stands as well, but backs away from you with a few steps. We should head back home. It's quite late after all. Both you and Saul didn't say anything, but nod along. Hugo gives both of you a smile before walking away. Saul kept a firm hold of your hand, seemingly afraid to let you go. Hugo lets out a sigh. I guess we can't get in that arcade anymore. Those guys might come back to teach us a lesson. If they ever come back, I'll give them more than just a broken nose. You're pretty scary right now, Saul. Good. I'd like to keep it that way. Hugo shakes his head. He rummaged through his pockets before handing Saul something. He didn't quite see what it was, but judging on the scowl on Saul's face, he didn't like it. I told you those don't work anymore. It's because you aren't taking it, you fool. Now take it tonight. Saul grumbled like a child who got scolded before taking whatever Hugo gave to him and tucked it into his pockets. Anyway, your place is just around this corner. You should head back as soon as possible. I'll be taking Lion home. Saul's eyes narrowed. He went from holding your hand to wrapping his arm around yours in a possessive manner as he leaned closer and glared at Hugo. No, I can walk them home. Clearly, you're not in a good condition to fight again. I can fight again. There was something in Hugo's eyes that made your blood run cold. The usual happy-go-lucky expression he had on his face was gone. You take a look back at Saul, noticing how unfazed he seemed, as if challenging Hugo. Hugo's right, Saul. You look beaten up. But Lion, at least they know their limits. Saul says nothing but clenches his fist. You noticed a few red marks on his knuckles. Your eyes furrowed. I'm fine, Lion. Saul tries to reassure you. You shook your head no. Well, for me you aren't. You look up and gave him a reassuring smile. I'll be fine, Saul. Besides, I have Hugo to keep me safe. You go home first and get some rest. All right. Wait! I want the Saul to walk me back! Saul, wait, before you go. He paused on his tracks. He raised his eyebrows in curiosity. Holding the stuffed toy horse in your arms, you gently handed over to him, catching him by surprise. Soul, however, shook his head no and gave the horse back to you. His hands wrapped around your hands as you hold the toy horse. You want that. Plus, I don't deserve it. Not after that. But I want it for you. Consider this as your reward for saving me. Soul stares at you in disbelief, from your face to the stuffed horse in your hands. His hands were shaky as he takes the toy horse from your hands, brushing your fingers, making him shiver. I'll take care of it, Lion. I swear to you. He squeezed your hands, too hesitant to let you go, before his hold eventually slipped as he lets go. With that, Soul takes his leave. He walks backwards, his eyes still on you, making sure you're in his sight before properly walking front. Hugo sighs. You turn to face him. Well, ain't he a charmer? Is it working? He raised a brow at his question. Working what? Charming you, obviously. Don't worry, this is a secret between you and me, he said with a finger on his lips and a wink. You blushed. He's nice. I owe him my life after that. And? You chuckled, thinking about the long-haired male. He is handsome, I'll admit that. Uh-huh. What's with that smirk on your face? Oh, nothing. Before you could retaliate with a question, his gaze softened, taking you a bit aback as he looked down on the pavement below, kicking a pebble. Have you ever liked someone, Lion? What's with the sudden question? Just answer. You paused as you thought for a second. The first person that appeared in your mind was Soul. You thought of Soul. How he protected you. How he didn't hesitate to beat those guys down. The pure terror in his eyes. How worried he was. You couldn't get it out of your head. He's been an amazing friend. Even if he did beat up those guys. Non-stop. Is it a red flag? Maybe. Do you care? Maybe not. A smile made its way to your face, and it was enough of a confirmation for Hugo. Eventually, you arrived at the door of your apartment. You thanked Hugo for accompanying you. He gives you a smile, rubbing the back of his head. I'll see you tomorrow, Lion. Sorry the day didn't go well. It's okay, Hugo. But we're going to have a proper plan next time. Of course. Hugo nodded. He turned his heel, his back facing you, ready to leave. But he remained still on his spot. Lion? Yeah? Be careful walking late at night, okay? You paused, turning your head slightly at him. There have been multiple cases of people going missing lately. I suggest you go home with someone. Anyone. Just don't go alone, alright? I get it. Missing people. When did that happen? No, when did it start? Oh, and one last thing, Lion. He turned his head around as he looks at your confused face. His eyes soft, but the light against him seems like he's giving you a warning. Take care of Soul for me, okay? With that, he left. You entered your apartment, the lights dim as you groaned, searching for the light switch. Much better. You nod in approval, heading to your kitchen. You open your fridge and start rummaging around for something to eat. Forgot to do groceries. You let out an irritated sigh, seeing there's nothing good besides the leftovers from yesterday's dinner. You shrug, deciding to heat this one up after you set your things down. You don't really feel like cooking or ordering either. Sighing one last time, you closed the door to your fridge and you made your way to your room. You place your school bag near your desk as you take your seat, skimming through the notes you've taken for the day. You wrote down needed notes. You clicked your tongue as you tapped your blank notebook with the tip of your pen, going on with your silent staring contest with the blank paper before you. You let out a groan. Deciding to do work later, you closed your notebook and stood up. You turned to your window, noticing it was slightly ajar. That's weird. I thought I closed this. You went near it to close it shut, but was met with a now broken lock. You cursed. I thought I just replaced this 2 days ago! Maybe I shouldn't buy my locks online. You let out a groan as you left it alone and went out of your room to go to your living room. Your TV blared as you munched on some leftovers you got from the fridge, a movie currently playing as you kept your eyes on the protagonist. If you recall correctly, it's one of those films Jess keeps talking about, starring her favorite lead actor. You kinda get what she was gushing about. The lead does look attractive. Blonde, wavy hair with sharp eyes, with eyes as pink as fuchsia. And you still can't remember the actor's name. You took out your phone to start searching up the name of the actor when it suddenly changed. And instead of the blonde actor on the screen, a report comes instead of with banner below. Another missing person case. Is this what Hugo was talking about? A shiver went up your spine, remembering the broken lock of your window back in your bedroom. Nuh-uh. Not tonight, Lion. No scary thoughts for tonight. Turning off the TV, you went to your kitchen to grab something to drink. You open your fridge, feeling the cold air hitting your face as you rummage through. Taking out a pitcher of orange juice, you take a glass from your cupboard as you pour the juice to the last drop, taking a sip from it. You check the clock on the wall. 9:30 p.m. That late already, huh? You checked your front door and windows, seeing everything locked before grabbing your glass and finishing the last drops of the orange juice before heading back to your bedroom. Now dressed in your nightwear, you let out one last stretch, a yawn escaping from your mouth. Getting in your bed sheets, you laid in comfort. Today was a lot, you thought. Another yawn escaped your lips. You must be really tired, you thought, your eyes going half-lidded. And eventually, sleep took over. The moon was high up in the sky. The night is quiet, save for a few honks from the late-night cars, but all of that is not enough to wake the sleeping residents. What was that? Huh. Still broken, huh? You should be careful, Pumpkin. Clad in all black, with a mask of the same color adorning his face, he slowly makes his way next to your sleeping figure. His reddish eyes bright, filled with adoring love. He reached out and stroked a finger against his beloved's cheek. Look at my sleeping sweetheart. Makes me wonder, who supplies Hugo these sleeping pills? He lets out a low chuckle as he leaned close to Lion. Pulling down his mask, he leans forward, checking their face before continuing. He buries his face at the dip of their shoulders as he leaves a peck. He takes a deep inhale. He shakes as if he took a whiff of a dangerous and addictive drug. His eyes bright as he examines every feature of his soulmate's face as he gives Lion's cheek a kiss. Fuck. You smell so good. Pardon me. He lifted their arm and watched as it flops back down. Deep in sleep, like Sleeping Beauty. He nibbles their neck, earning him a soft whimper from the sleeping individual. He just chuckled. Quite ticklish, aren't you? And he kept going. He kissed and lapped on the same spot to the point a mark started to form. Those filthy scum think they could touch you. His eyes slanted in anger. His grip on the edge of the bed tightens as he wrinkled the sheets. His breathing heavy. You're mine. No one else. You belong to me. If I ever see those bastards again, I'll kill them. Tucking a few loose strands away from their face, he gives them a kiss on the forehead before landing another one on the corner of Lion's lips. A shiver ran down his spine at the contact. And as much as he would like to stay a bit longer, his time is due. He backs away as he covered his face once again with his face mask. He walked towards the ajar window, turning back one last time. Sorry about your window, Pumpkin. I'll make it up to you someday. He carefully opens the window again, and with that, he's gone. To be continued. Okay, right now we're back at the library because I cannot accept that I did not get the scene where we're walking back with Soul. I want this. So, we forced him out of his seat again, and yeah, he must be screwing with us. Try one last time, he scanned the words. Huh. Is it Sarah Anna Lewis? You feel a pat on your head, make you tilt your neck to his direction as you try to face him. Good job. You got it right. A smile made its way to your face, pride swelling in your chest. You look back at your paper, on the poem specifically, a newfound sense of respect for the sonnet after knowing its hidden meaning. This just adds more to the content in your paper, and maybe it'll help you get an even higher grade for it. Got it. We're just gonna skip right along. Alright, I'm a bit curious. What if we said we're pretty good at art? Sol gives a small smile. I'd love to see some of your work then. So, would you like to draw my portrait first? Sure, let me get my things. You took out your sketch pad and a charcoal pencil as Sol relaxed on his seat. Would you like me to pose or... Do whatever you feel most comfortable in. Alright. Your eyes scanned his face. The more you look at him, the more you notice some of his features. His cheekbones, his lips with 2 piercings, his thick eyebrows, the way his hair settles down on his shoulders, and his reddish, orange eyes. He's actually quite handsome. For a moment, you just stared at his eyes. He noticed and stared back, his pupils dilating before he realized he was staring. Heat rises to his cheeks. He quickly averted his head away. Hey, eyes on me! Sorry, I'm not used to being stared at for that long. Relax, it's just me. Plus, you'll be staring at my boring face after I'm done with your portrait. Your face isn't boring. I actually think you look beautiful. He says without even thinking twice. His eyes met yours, half-lidded, and his pupils were wide. Now it's your turn to turn red. You hid your face behind your sketch pad and whacked him with your charcoal pencil. Stop saying stupid things and stay still! Sol just chuckled and stilled his movements, a hand on his chest and a smile on his face. Before you knew it, the bell rang and class was over. You weren't done with your sketch, however. The conversation kept repeating in your mind and made it hard for you to concentrate. And like hell you're gonna show it to Sol. Come on, just a peek. It's not done yet! Boo. You chucked the sketch pad in your bag before Sol would grab a hold of it. You got up from your seat and headed out of the classroom, Sol coming close behind with his own bag, as he leaves as well with the rest of the class. Do you have a phone? We should change numbers and update each other so we can do the next 2 tasks. Also, yeah, we're just gonna skip right along. Alright, after all that and choosing to go to the arcade, we finally have the choice to let Sol walk us home, so let's go. Both of them looked at you in surprise. Hugo seems to disapprove of your choice, while Sol's whole demeanor shifted from shock to cocky as he slowly turned his head to his shorter friend. You heard them. Hugo, I can handle this. I can walk Lion home. Lion, trust me. I want you to trust me too. Hugo looks at his friend in wild disbelief, almost as if offended by what Sol had said. You took notice of the way his fist tightened, causing his veins to bulge out from the force he exerted. Also, in case if anyone's curious, apparently the choice to, say that, yeah, you're good at art, gets you another affection point of Sol, and just enough with all the other choices we made to actually get this far. Eventually, he gives up with a sigh. Hugo turns to you. If it's fine for you, Lion, I can't force you. The shorter male didn't say anything afterwards. He then turned on his heel. Hugo walks away. You and Sol stare at his back until his figure becomes smaller, and the light post no longer illuminates the path that he walked on. Is he always like that? Rubbing the redness away from his eyes, he turns to you. Like what? Like, really bossy? Especially towards you? I thought he's the happy-go-lucky type. Guess you can't judge a book by its cover. Sol didn't say anything. His gaze lingered on the now empty path where Hugo was headed. He takes your hand and wraps his fingers around yours with a smile on his face. He looks happy. What matters is that you're here with me right now. Shall we get going? Alright, we're home. Please excuse the place's condition right now. I didn't expect a visitor to come this evening, you said with a bit of a chuckle, rubbing the back of your head as you welcome Sol inside your apartment. I don't mind. Sol eventually takes a step inside your apartment, but did not go any step further and remained by the door. Sol's figure was a bit stiff as he lingered by the entrance. Maybe he needs some convincing that it's alright to come in. Taking hold of Sol's hand, you led him to the living room and made him sit on the couch. Upon taking his seat, Sol placed down the horse plush you won for him on the table beside him. His whole demeanor, however, still remained rigid. You don't need to be so stiff, Sol. Just make yourself at home. Sorry, I'm just not used to being in other people's spaces, much less their homes. Really? Not even Hugo's? Sol just shakes his head. You begin to ponder. However, your train of thought was cut short when Sol starts flexing his knuckles. Oh, that's right! Stop what you're doing and wait here. I'll grab the medical kit. And don't you dare strain your fist any further. You don't really have to do all this, Lion. You tutted, placing your hands on your hips. My house, my rules. Plus, I did insist on treating your wounds. Sol didn't say anything, but just let his hands relax. He looks a bit stiff, but through your words, he loosened his shoulders just a tad bit. You hurriedly ran to your room and into the bathroom connected to it, and took the first aid kit before returning to the living room. Once you returned, you took the empty space right beside Sol. Hands? You say that like I'm some sort of dog. Despite his remark, he did as you told him and showed you his hands. Taking his hand on yours, your eyes furrowed at the gash, and a few blisters adorned on his once pale knuckles. Taking a disinfectant and a piece of cotton from the kit, you lightly dabbed the formula on the cotton. This might sting a bit. Sol didn't say anything. Taking it as a sign to proceed, you gently dabbed the cotton on the bruises on his knuckles, earning a few hisses here and there from him. You did the same to his other hand, but this time he was silent, seemingly used to the stinging pain. After disinfecting the wound, you took out some gauze bandages and wrapped it around his knuckles. You were busy wrapping the bandages that you failed to notice how he kept looking at you while you were patching him up. You only realized this when you finished wrapping his hands. You looked up and your eyes met with his reddish-orange orbs. Orbs that reminded you of summer daisies of a rare breed. But the word summer doesn't quite fit him. Instead, he reminds you of the harsh and cold winds of fall. Despite his icy exterior, he has shown you nothing but warmth, like a fuzzy scarf to shield you from the freezing autumn winds. He hasn't let go of his hands from yours yet. Keith! You have no idea what made you do what you did next, but you raised his hand in yours and pressed your lips on his bandaged knuckles. He did not jerk his hand away, but the look of pure shock was displayed on his face. His face went red, while his eyes grew wide like saucers. Sol let out a low and nervous cough, tilting his head to the side in a shy manner. I'm not a kid anymore, you know. But it makes you feel better, right? He let out a chuckle. His silence was enough of a confirmation. You eventually let go of his hands, and he pouted when you did. You stood up from the couch. Your gaze lingers on his sitting figure. Do you need anything else, Sol? Cup of water, perhaps? Nah, there's no need. Oh, come on, Sonny. A brow raised with mild curiosity at the familiar nickname you uttered. Sonny? Yeah, Sonny! There was a slight pause. The air was still. You felt nervousness starting to crawl up your skin. You rubbed the back of your neck. Sorry. I guess that's quite bold of me to casually give you a nickname all of a sudden. No. It's just that I'm used to hearing that from Hugo's mouth. Well, only from Hugo. How about calling me something else? You don't mind a nickname? If Hugo's going to give me one, why not you? I will give him a nickname! Okay, the last name you input will be the nickname used if you press enter. Ooh, I will call him Snuggly Puss Puss. What? Why? I guess I can't give him a nickname. On second thought, I couldn't think of anything. Changed your mind? Unless you thought of something right about now? Wait, I thought of something! Let's hear it then. Okay, please let me call him Snuggly Puss. No! Why? I know, I couldn't think of anything. The game wouldn't let me think. The game is being too real right now. Yeah, I got nothing. That's alright. With a hand over his heart, he gives you a knowing look, gaze serious as if he's about to make a vow. Let me repay your kindness, Lion. Hey, you don't have to, Sol. It's the least I could do as your friend. No, I insist. I can make you dinner tonight if you like. That won't be necessary, unless, of course, there's gonna be a CG of him cooking. I would love to see that. Before you could protest, however, you could feel your stomach rumble. The sound was loud enough to be heard, which earned a low chuckle from Soul. I can cook. Not on my watch, mister. Your hands need to rest. I'll do the cooking. God damn it. Before Soul could retort to insist on cooking, you pulled him up from his seat and started pushing him towards the kitchen dining room. Is there anything you like and don't like? Nothing really. As long as it's from you. But really, I'm fine. You've done enough for me already, Lion. I'm just doing this to return the favor. You shook your head no before forcing him back to his seat. Soul sighed and gave up, propping his elbows on the wooden table as he looked at your figure. Happy that he complied, you turned to stare at the kitchen sink. The hell are you going to cook? You never had a guest before. Heck, even Crow has never entered your apartment, and you had no other friends to even call over to hang out. Are you really this lonely? While you were in the middle of fighting your own thoughts, Soul hummed a tune. You hear him drag his chair to stand up, and you soon find his tall figure now looming behind you. He held his hands behind his back as he inspected your cupboards. Seems like your kitchen is quite empty. Well, it's not completely empty. Reaching out towards the cupboard above you, he pulled out a box of curry powder and gave it to you. Oh, this could work. I'll look forward to it. An idea then struck to you. What if you help me make those cute foods like the ones you made this afternoon? You mean the bento box I made for Hugo? I can. But does that mean I can work in the kitchen? Not a single finger! How is he supposed to help me then? Soul merely pouted. He placed the box of curry on the counter and he crossed his arms and leaned on his back, his gaze not leaving your figure. Alright, Pumpkin. Let's see what you got. I'll lead as you go. Using your phone, you searched up on how to make a simple curry, checking the list of ingredients that you thankfully had on hand before preparing everything on the counter. Soul checks around and lets out an approving hum. He begins by telling you to prepare the ingredients. Thankfully, you have most of it lying around. You wash the potatoes and carrots and proceed to peel the skin off of them one by one. Soul still remains right beside you, his arms now crossed as he observes. When you set aside the vegetables, however, he suddenly takes out a knife from your knife holder along with your chopping board, then moves to chop the vegetables. You were about to protest, but stopped yourself when he gave you a side-eye, a smirk on his face as he cuts them neatly and in equal sizes. He has experience, and he made it clear. Show off. After cutting them, he sets the chopped vegetables in a bowl as he awaits the rest from you. I could have handled it on my own, you know. Yeah, you can. But what if I'm stubborn like that? Well, at least this makes the work faster. Alright. You eventually finished peeling the carrots and took the knife from Soul, shooing him away and taking his task. Soul complied and went back to leaning on the counter. You looked at the perfectly cut potatoes and carrots. Did he make flower-shaped carrots? Well, how did you do that? Do what? This! It's cute! Do you want me to teach you? Wait, let me do it first. I want to see how we can replicate it. Grabbing a piece of sliced carrot, you tried to replicate the flower-shaped carrot Soul did. However, each time you manage to cut one, a piece of petal will fall off. Again and again and again. Ah! You placed the knife down, lifted your sleeve up, and continued on. You were too focused on trying to cut a piece of carrot to fully realize that a large pair of bandaged hands were now on top of yours. Soul's figure loomed behind you, his torso pressed close to your back as he leaned his face right next to yours. His breath fanned your cheek while you stand frozen. You can feel the heat slowly rising to your cheeks. Calm down. Let me help you. With his guidance, he leads you with utmost care. Don't cut too much. That's how you'll manage to accidentally cut off a petal. Do this instead. You couldn't focus. Your heart was beating way too fast. The rumbles in his chest makes whenever he speaks echo through you. You can feel his heartbeat as well. It was beating as fast like yours. You let him lead you, like a puppet to its master. There, This looks better. You were too distracted by his overall presence that you didn't realize how the once round carrot was now in the shape of a blossom. It only hit you once he stepped out, his arms around you gone, and he was off of your back. You looked down at the masterpiece before you. You make them so pretty. I think you can make them look prettier. Just follow what I did. That's the problem. I wasn't paying attention. You weren't paying attention, were you? You avoided his gaze. He lets out a chuckle. I think that's all right. We're running out of carrots anyway. We just need to chop the rest of the potatoes and we're done prepping. Want me just sit down, mister! I will deal with this! This is my job! While you were cooking, with Soul's aid and instructions, of course, the said man took the honor of making orange juice, claiming it was less of a risk. Also, like, when are we going to have a, like, cooking dating sim? Like, I need that in my life, okay? I need a cooking sim with hot men, okay? Just let me romance people with my cooking. That would be amazing. While you were cooking, with Soul's aid and instructions, of course, the said man took the honors of making orange juice, claiming it was less of a risk. Since he kept on insisting to help, you let him be. Soul sets the table while you turn off the stove. The curry's aroma fills the dining room. The curry was hot, and steam rose from the pot as you carried it by the handles, with mittens on your hands. You then set it on the table. Soul sat across the table. The orange juice he made in a pitcher now settled on the table, as well with 2 glass cups. You sat down on your seat as well. Thank you for the food. Thanks for the food. This smells good. Without wasting time, you took a spoonful of warm curry and rice, blowing the steam away, then plopping it into your mouth. You let out a joyful hum. Soul just chuckled as he ate his own portion of the curry. You should write down the spices you made me add. I didn't think they would taste this good. I'll list them down once you're done eating. Couldn't argue with that. You discard the dishes in the sink after dinner. You and Soul sat in the kitchen for a while, somehow finding yourself talking about food as you drank what was left of the orange juice. Soul still makes himself comfortable on the dining table. I can send you a few of my favorite dishes if you want to try them. That'll be great. I'd like to learn more from you if given the time. Of course. Anything for you, Lion. Soul smiles at you. You look back on what happened today and how much he's been with you. From making you feel safe, to making you laugh, to actually protecting you. And now he's just casually helping you make dinner, even though you just bandage his wound like any other normal person would. Cooking with him, dining with him, it all seems so domesticated. Like you and him are. You took another swig of the orange juice, chugging it down to the last drop, catching Soul by surprise. You feel your heartbeat quicken, and the familiar warmth of your face heating up again. You let out a yawn. Oh, excuse me. What time is it? It's 8:45. That late already? It's early as hell! What do you mean? I haven't taken too much of your time, so you still need to go home. It's school day tomorrow. You rub your eyes. Another yawn escapes your lips. Nah, don't worry too much about it, Lion. I feel quite happy you let me in and treated my wounds. Not to mention, sharing dinner as well. Soul wanted to say something, but he stopped himself before he could utter the words in his mind. Instead, he leaned in closer. His eyes were half-lidded as he looked at you expectantly. Why are there 3 of him? Your head is getting dizzy. You seem tired, Pumpkin. No, I'm fine. Let me get you the door. Your eyelids felt heavy from the sudden creeping drowsiness that wrapped around you. You rubbed your eyes, trying to shake off that heavy feeling. Your hand lost its strength, something slipped, and glass shattered on the floor. Beyond your fading vision, you caught Soul's smile, his hand pushing away the glass of orange juice that had never been touched. He looks at their figure, now passed out on the table before him. He turns to stare at the pitcher, half filled with orange juice, as he crunches the packet of pills in his pocket, the very same packet Hugo gave him before coming into the apartment. Taking the pitcher and his glass of orange juice, he drained it all out and placed them on the sink before returning to Lion's side, not minding the shards of broken glass he's stepping on. He gently lifts Lion's hand, then drops it. And just like a motionless ragdoll, they remain unconscious. A smirk makes its way on his face. He gently places his hands on their shoulder before leaning in close to their neck, taking a deep inhale of their scent. He shivers in delight. He gently wrapped the Lion's arms around his shoulder before carrying them in his arms like a groom to his spouse. Let's get you to bed, Pumpkin. He entered Lion's room, seemingly familiar with the layout, as if he's been through here multiple times. He carefully walks towards the bed and gently lays Lion down on their duvet. The corners of his lips turn upwards, his eyes twitching. He then proceeds to lie down next to their sleeping figure, wrapping his arms around their abdomen and pulling their body closer to his, spooning them in the process. He buries his face on their neck. Like before, Soul inhales Lion's scent like an addictive perfume. A shiver went down his spine as he can feel his pants tighten from the mere scent of his beloved. Oh, my darling Lion. I feel so flattered that you trust me so much, despite just meeting me yesterday. Isn't this enough proof that you're meant to be mine, as I was meant to be yours? Your soul resonates with mine. He makes himself comfortable, his arms still wrapped around, keeping his gaze on the apple of his eye. A wicked smile still settled on his face. He snuggled closer, hearing Lion's steady heartbeat through the veins of their neck. I love you so much. I want you to realize. I want your soul to realize. I know that'll take some time, but I'm getting impatient, sweetheart. When will you realize? He asked under his breath, as if hoping for some answer from the sleeping person caged within his arms. But only their soft and steady breathing filled his ears. He tightened his hold around them. His eyes didn't flutter shut as his thoughts kept him up till midnight. And for the first time, Soul slept well that night. Anyway, that was the kid at the back. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. And we will be back once day 3 of this drops. I did have to cut out a couple of scenes to be put up on Patreon instead. So if you guys do want the spicy, I will be pinning a comment down below on where you can see that. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. And as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.